Suvarna Bhagini, you can start.
Namaskaram Bhagini.
Namaskaram.
पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवत्वेषिणीम् नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावः दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णौ वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरणनदी कैवर्तकः केशवः पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटं नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितं लोके सज्जन षट्पदैरहरहः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयाद् भारत पंकजं कलिमलप्रध्वंसिन श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुल्लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तन्न विदुः सुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः। धन्यवाद भगिनी।
धन्यवादः। Hope all of you are able to see the screen as well as you're able to hear me. धन्यवादः। नारायणं पद्मभुवं वसिष्ठं शक्तिं च तत्पुत्र पराशरं च Vyasam Shukam Gaudapadam Mahantam Govinda Yogindra Mathasya Shishyam Shri Shankaracharya Mathasya Padma Padam Cha Hastamalakam Cha Shishyam Tam Totakam Vartikakara Manyan Asmad Gurun Santatamanatosmi Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya-madhyamam Asmadacharya-paryantam Vande Guru-paramparam. Param varishtham brahmishtham paramanandarupinam Paramarthanandayatim Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. So in the last class, we completed the 16th chapter of Gita and we have to enter the 17th chapter today. Both these chapters 16 and 17 are very, very important from the standpoint of the preparation of the mind for receiving the spiritual knowledge. So exposing to scriptures is like holding a mirror in front of our eyes. So if I have to look at my own face, I can never do that with the help of the eyes alone, because our eyes can never see our own face, however powerful it may be, right? So the eyes cannot turn towards the face itself. Therefore, if I have to see my face, I will have to necessarily use a mirror. If I say I will not use any instrument, I want to look at my face only with my own eyes directly, it is not possible. A mirror is always required. Similarly, if I have to gain the knowledge of my real nature, right? Our instruments are never sufficient. When our eyes are not able to see our face itself, where is the question of knowing our real nature? Eyes, we are saying, cannot see the sthula face, right? And definitely we can never see the sukshma shariram. What is sukshma shariram? In case people are not able to relate, sukshma shariram is all the power behind the sensory organs and the intellect, the mind, right? The thinking faculty, the memory faculty, all of this. We can't see that. It is sukshmam or subtle, right? So where is the question of knowing the Atma? Therefore, we have to hold the mirror, and in this case of Atma, the mirror is the scriptural teaching which reveals my nature, and therefore, right, getting a mirror in the form of the Shastric teaching is a great blessing to see our face. But Shastra gives a warning. Now, mirror alone is not enough. We should have a good, healthy, fit eye to look at the mirror. If the eyes have got some problem, right, then what will happen? And the mirror is there, we can't see the face. Similarly, if the eyes are fit and the mirror is not there, then also I can't see. Therefore, to see the face, I require eyes, I require mirror also. They are complementary to each other, right? If even one of them is missing, I can't see the face. Similarly, the scriptures point out a very, very important teaching, right? Which is the scriptural teaching coming out of a guru is like a mirror. But the teaching can help us realize our nature only when we have a fit mind. Without a fit mind, the mirror of Shastram is useless. And without Shastram, the fittest mind is useless. Therefore, we require qualified mind also. We require scriptural teaching also. So when the mind and the teaching combine together, then the self-knowledge can take place. Then alone self-knowledge can take place. In Chanakya Niti, it is said, yasya nasti swayam prajna shastram tatra karoti kim. Lochanabhyam vihinasya darpanaha kim karishyati. This is from Chanakya Niti. Prajna here means intellectual insight. So if a person does not have the eyes, mirror alone can't help in seeing the face. Right? Lochanabhyam vihinasya darpanaha kim karishyati. Similarly, if a person has got Shastram but the mind is not prepared, then the teaching will fall flat, or maximum it will be an academic study. It will become information and it is not going to bring about a spiritual transformation. Therefore, Lord Krishna emphasizes both Brahma Vidyayam when he says it is Darpanaha, Yoga Shastre when he says it is mental preparation. Brahma Vidyayam, Yoga Shastre, both of them are highlighted, and in the 16th and 17th chapter, very important to understand the connect, Krishna focuses on the mental preparation more and more. Mental preparation involves 3 exercises. Okay, first one is presented as Sat Karmani, noble actions which will benefit more and more number of people. The Sat Karmani, the good actions that we do, right? The Paropakaram that we do, right? Therefore, Sat Karmani. Second one is Sat Gunaha, healthy virtues or values like truthfulness, compassion, friendliness, gentle behavior, all of them. Amanitvam, right? Adambitvam. They are all healthy values, right? Finally, Sat Bhavana, Sat Karmani, Sat Gunaha, and Sat Bhavana. Healthy attitude in life, and the most important of the attitude is learning to look at the entire universe as the manifestation of the Lord. Receiving all experiences, good and bad, as experiences coming from the law from the Lord according to the law of karma, karmani in plural if you want to say. Therefore, whatever Bhagavan gives is just experience, and we can never complain against the God, right? So therefore, doing all these actions with this awareness, that is Vishwarupa Ishvara, is receiving my karma, and that is called Ishvara Arpana Bhavana, and receiving all the results as Ishvara Prasada. This is the healthy attitude or Sadbhavana. And this all 3 put together will refine the mind more and more. Sat Karmani, Sat Gunaha, and Sadbhavana. And the refinement of the mind alone is not enough, just as the eye alone is not enough to see the face. Mirror is also important. Similarly, however refined the mind may be, consistent and systematic study of the scriptures, right, is absolutely essential, right? So it both should go hand in hand, right? If we are not spiritually growing, right, it only means that one of these 2 is missing or both are missing. Therefore, we have to constantly ask the question, right? Do I expose my mind to the teaching? That should continue, right? We have to keep asking. But am I striving to refine my mind also? Therefore, in the 16th chapter, Krishna talked about mental refinement by using the word Daivi Sampat. Different words are used, but the message is the same in different chapters, right? So in the 17th chapter, there is a different way of presenting this, and a very, very practical and useful set of messages that come up here, right? So let us start. Arjuna Uvacha. I think I didn't read the chapter name. Okay. Ata Saptadashodhyayah. Ata Saptadashodhyayah. Shraddhatraya Vibhaga Yogaha. Shraddhatraya Vibhaga Yogaha. Arjuna Uvacha. Arjuna Uvacha. Eshastra Vidimutsrijya. Eshastra Vidimutsrijya. Yajante Shraddhayanvitaha. Yajante Shraddhayanvitaha. Tesham Nishta tu ka Krishna. Tesham Nishta tu ka Krishna. Sattvamaho Rajastamaha. Sattvamaho Rajastamaha. Now the chapter begins with a question from Arjuna based on Lord Krishna's 2 verses at the end of the previous chapter. So in the last 2 verses, if you see in the 16th chapter, in the 23rd verse, Krishna said, Yaha Shastra Vidimutsrijya Vartate Kamakaratah Nasa Siddhyam Avapnoti Nasukam Na Paramgatim. Right? So, having given up the scriptural injunctions, he who lives according to the impulse of desires attains neither purity nor happiness. He does not attain the supreme goal also. So basically, the one who follows a spiritual path with the help of his own ragadvesha ridden mind, without the help of guidance of the Shastra, right? So he just follows his own kind of life, right? So according to this ragadvesha. And Krishna gave a warning. Without the help of Shastric teaching, if a person lives a life, he will not reach anywhere. He will neither get Chitta Shuddhi, nor he will get Jnanam, and definitely not Moksha, right? So, just like for any, say, cricket or tennis, so many years we have to go, and we need a coach, then there is a lot of, pre-exercise, etc., right? So, for the subtlest of the subtlest spirituality also, we need spiritual coaching based on Guru Shastra Upadesha. Not only for Vedantic knowledge, but even for Dharma Jnanam, we require help. Dharma Viveka and Satya Atma Viveka. All of them require a guidance from a Guru. Dharma and Adharma. What is Dharma? What is Adharma, etc. Right? So, and Guru, whenever we say, it automatically includes Shastram also. So therefore, Krishna had advised in the very last verse of the 16th chapter, Tasmat Shastram Pramanam Te Karya Vyavastitau Nyatva Shastra Vidanoktam Karma Kartumi Harhasi. Even though our Shastric literature, right, is very vast, minimum, right, Bhagavad Gita is required, because Bhagavad Gita is the condensed version of all the literature. Apparently, Swami Chinmayananda, who popularized this way of teaching Bhagavad Gita, I remember in my childhood, he used to do a lot of these lectures. Apparently, he used to say that I want to teach Bhagavad Gita to the Hindu society because I want to convert Hindus to Hinduism. What a deep statement, right? Because without Bhagavad Gita knowledge, I will not know what Hinduism means and what makes me a Hindu, right? Even that I won't know. Therefore, Shastram means minimum Bhagavad Gita, and for a junior student, minimum 16th and 17th chapters are compulsory. So when this was said by Krishna in the last 2 shlokas with a very stern warning, Arjuna raises a question in the 17th chapter. Krishna, it is wonderful that every one of us, every Hindu who wants to be a true Hindu should learn Gita and try to follow the instructions, right? So even during Arjuna's time, right, Arjuna is raising this question because the scriptures are in Sanskrit language, and Sanskrit is a little difficult to study without, guidance, etc., right? So even if people have the desire and the opportunity may not come because it requires a lot of punyam. And hey Krishna, right? Imagine that there are people who have not studied the scriptures because they didn't have the opportunity. But at the same time, they are interested in the growth in their life and they want to do Ishvara Aradhanam. We must remember very carefully, these are people who are religious. Okay? They have not been exposed to the spiritual side, Bhagavad Gita study, right? So they want to do Ishvara Aradhanam, worship of the Lord, for their growth in both material as well as spiritual growth. They have heard in Upanyasas, etc. Ishvara Aradhanam is very important, right? Therefore, you imagine that they do puja. They are not people who have got exposed to Shastra. They know puja and they are very familiar with the sankalpa that should be done. Therefore, they will be following, right, a very clean, smooth path, right? So, you can say that they have Daivi Sampat, or at least they are practicing, right? So, they are Satvika people partially, but they are, because they are guided by the scriptural teaching, the Karma Kanda part, etc. Right? But the difference, right, between Nishkama, Sakama Puja, then what is compulsory, Nitya Naimittika Karma, and how one has to move from Sakama Puja to Nishkama Puja. These kind of subtle things they don't know, which is covered in the Bhagavad Gita, right? So they don't know what is the path, how to refine the mind so that they can get to Jnanam, right? Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, right? So leave this apart for some time and think about a situation where there is no guidance of the scriptures to even do puja, right? That is, I'm now talking about the Karma Kanda part, right? So first I talked about the Jnana Kanda part. Now I'm saying even Karma Kanda, many of us don't know which rituals should be done what way, right? The month of Adi comes, or the Thai month comes. So there are a lot of, celebrations going on, and there are a lot of people on the street, using drums and running around, etc. Right? They don't know why, what they are doing, what is the rituals mean, what does the Shastra say about them, etc. Right? But they are scripturally illiterate people, but they do Ishvara Puja, right? So the puja, they have full faith in God. Their faith is very strong, but their knowledge is weak, right? So knowledgeless faith is the basis for their puja. If such people are there, right, their puja and the Shravanam, right, their puja and their Shravanam, the faith, right, it will come under what category, right? Shraddha Sahita Puja, the puja they do, will it come under Daivi Sampat or Asuri Sampat, right? Or to use the 14th chapter language, is this Shraddha Satvika Shraddha, Rajasa Shraddha, or Tamasa Shraddha? So Arjuna says, hey Krishna, I want to know that, right? So we must remember two conditions we have to note here, because we shouldn't forget. They are not non-religious people. You should always remember entire the chapter, right? They don't have knowledge. Which knowledge? Either the knowledge of the Karma Kanda part or the Jnana Kanda part. Or they know Karma Kanda, they don't know Jnana Kanda, right? But they are religious people, right? So they have Shraddha, right? So in this shloka, Yash Shastra Vidim Utsrijya. Suppose a person does a puja without following the Shastric rules and regulations, right? Which deity must be worshipped, in which manner, what Naivedyam should be given. If you take Navagraha Puja, you have a particular, Navagraha, each Graha has a kind of grain associated with it, a cloth associated with it, a Naivedyam associated with it, the type of flower, etc. Right? So these people consistently violate all these rules, not because they want to violate, but because simply they don't know. So utsrijya, ignoring because of ignorance, yajante, they do puja, and what is their blessing? Shraddhayan vidaha, they're endowed, right? Deep and intense shraddha they have. Arjuna's question is, Tesham nishta tu ka Krishna? Nishta means their position, their status will come under what category? Ka Krishna, right? Ka here feminine, Nishta, right? Means they come under the Satvika people. Does their faith come under Satvika faith? This is puja come under Satvika puja. Aho, right? Rajasic or Tamasic? This is Arjuna's question. right? And Krishna is going to give the answer, right? So the entire 17th chapter is going to be the answer to Arjuna's question, right? And based on this, little by little, the expansion will happen. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Trividha Bhavati Shraddha Dehinam sa swabhavaja Satviki Rajasi Chaiva Tamasi cheti tam shruno Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Bhagavan replies, when people don't have knowledge of the scriptures and suppose they do the puja, right? The type of puja they do, or they just choose by observing other people, or looking into, when they go to temples, they see, right? They see neighborhood, whatever vyavahara, right? With the vyavahara happens, they just see, right? So the puja chosen by a person, if he does not have any scriptural guidance, the puja will be what? It will be influenced by his swabhava, right? So for a literate person, puja will be influenced by the scriptures. But for a scripturally illiterate person, puja will be influenced by his personality. And then Lord Krishna says the personality of people is not uniform. Because in the 14th chapter, we have talked about people being born with different personalities. Not only because of parentage and upbringing, Purva Janma Vasana also influences the personality, and that personality will influence him in choosing the type of puja and that he does. Since the personality is of threefold nature, their faith is also threefold. Their puja will also be threefold. Satvika, Rajasa, Tamasa Shraddha, and Satvika, Rajasa, Tamasa Puja governed by their personality, not governed by scriptures, because they don't know the scriptures. That background we should remember. Therefore, he says, Dehinam Shraddha Trivida Bhavati. The faith and puja are of three types, governed by their swabhava, meaning their own tendency, right? Satviki, Rajasi, Chaiva, right? The Shraddha and Puja, right? So, how will the pujas be governed, right? When it is governed by, say, Satvika personality, right? So, the governing of the puja will also be in accordance with this. So, Krishna says, listen, I will tell you, right? Tam Shrunu, I will tell you. So, the Satvika person, puja will be Satviki. Rajasic persons will be Rajasi, like that, right? So here Shankaracharya makes a very, very important note in his Bhashyam, right? What he says is, when the person dies at the time of death, whatever Vasanani is to be activated in the next Janma, they all get ready in the mind, in the Sukshma Shariram of the dying person. So that next bunch is activated before this person dies. Not that the dying person will know, right? But in the dying person's Sukshma Shariram that has already been, you can say, punched or activated, right? So he will know this only after he is born and he grows up. But the imprint is already done in the Sukshma Shariram. That is why in the early stages, some children have this, interest in music, spirituality, etc. So therefore, the prarabdha karma of the next Janma is getting ready at the time of the death of the previous Shariram itself. It is a very, very important note, which is very rarely found. Shankaracharya says, Marana Kalehi, it will be ready, right? And not Punarjanma Kale. It is not after rebirth or during rebirth. It is before the person passes away, right? Marana Kale, Natu Punarjanma Kale. So here Shankaracharya says, apurva shariram maranakale eva. It will be abhivyaktaha, right? So he specifically makes this important note in his commentary. So what this says is, this nature, which can be influenced by the family in which the person grows up, the environment, etc. But we must not forget that the Purva Janma Vasana also has an influence on the nature, right? The Sattvika, Rajasika and Tamasic nature. And here Bhagavan is saying that is going to definitely influence the Shraddha. Continuing. सत्त्वानुरूपा सर्वस्य सत्त्वानुरूपा सर्वस्य श्रद्धा भवति भारत श्रद्धा भवति भारत श्रद्धामयोऽयं पुरुषः श्रद्धामयोऽयं पुरुषः यो यच्छ्रद्धः स एव सः यो यच्छ्रद्धः स एव सः. So Lord Krishna in the previous verse used the word swabhavajaha. The type of faith is determined by the type of swabhava, character, right? And that is explained here. Sarvasya shraddha, the faith of every human being, right? Not only we are talking about religious faith, but even the faith of atheistic people, right? Faith sometimes only in wealth, right? A person believes that money is the only worthwhile thing in this world, right? So there is a very important shloka. Yasyasti vittam sa naraha kulinaha sa panditaha sa shrutavan gunagnaha sa eva vakta sacha darshaniyaha sarve gunaha kanchanam ashrayante. Right? It's a Niti Shatakam verse number 41. He who has wealth, he alone is supposed to be born of a good family. He alone is a scholar. He alone is a master of all scriptures. He alone can recognize the merits of others. He alone is eloquent. He alone is handsome. So what it says is, if somebody has wealth, right, all good qualities take shelter in wealth. They are attributed to a man possessing wealth, whether or not these qualities are actually residing in him, right? So, yasyasi vidam sa panditaha sa shrutavan sa vidignaha. The interesting Niti Shatakam, verse 41. Okay. So, therefore, what is the truth of life? He says here, Bhatrahari, that sarve gunaha kanchanam ashrayanti. Everything depends on money, money, money. Right? So, you can have Shraddha, which is also an atheist Shraddha, right? So, different people have got different faith, not only in religious and spiritual fields, in general also. So, Sarvasya Shraddha, right? Krishna says, the faith of every human being. Sattvanurupa, depending upon Sattvam. Sattvam here means mind, not Sattva Guna here, right? It is dependent on the mind, right? Or Antakaranam. Depends on the quality of the mind. Because Shraddhamaya Ayam Purushaha. The direction of a life of a human being is based on what he values most in life. So, how he spends his holidays, how he spends his evenings, how he spends his extra time, right? And how he spends his money, right? What does he value most, right? So, one may have spiritual value, another may have totally materialistic values, right? So, Shraddhamaya Ayam Purushaha. So, a person's personality is dependent on what he values, right? You can see from what pictures are there in the house, right? Even children's room you can see, right? What role model they have, etc. Right? So, yoyaha shraddha, whatever be the type of faith of a person, saeva saha, his lifestyle will be exactly like that only. Having made this general rule, Lord Krishna is going to apply it for the puja also, okay? Because Arjuna's question was regarding puja. Because he asked, yajante shraddhayanvitaha. So they're doing yaga, Vedic rituals, or they may be doing puja at home, right? So how is that going to be different? So, oh Arjuna, for everyone, faith is according to his temperament here, mind, and a person consists of this, his faith. Basically, he is only the faith, and he is verily what this faith is. Now, this particular verse, if you see, there is a very famous, verse, or I would say a poem, right? Or a saying in English, right? So it is said, watch your thoughts, they will become your words. Watch your words, they will become your action. Check your actions, they will become your habits. Watch your habits, that will become a character. And watch your character, and that will become your future. So the beginning for all this is the thoughts. And we believe that the thoughts, right, are generated by the vasanani. All the involuntary thoughts are generated by the vasanani. And by watching our involuntary thoughts, we can know what vasanas we have, right? So we should remember that my faith, my shraddha must be in God and God alone. So we will see about the puja. Yajante satvika devan, yajante satvika devan, yaksharakshansi rajasaha, yaksharakshansi rajasaha, pretan bhutaganan shanye, pretan bhutaganan shanye, yajante tamasa janaha, yajante tamasa janaha. Krishna said the personality can be of three kinds: Satviki, Rajasi, and Tamasi, as explained in the 14th chapter, right? So the type of personality will influence the type of puja through three factors. Okay, very important, three factors, right? What are those three factors? The type of deity a person chooses. The second one is the mode of worship, and the third one is the motive. Type of deity, mode of worship, and the third one is the motive behind the puja, right? So we have actually so many deities described in the Puranas, and many deities are associated with Satvika gods or goals of Dharma and Moksha. Dharma Moksha Pradana associated deities. There are many deities, and Krishna will enumerate them, right? There are many deities which are Artha Kama Pradana, for the sake of money, for the sake of prosperity, etc. Many devatas are mentioned. So Swamiji actually describes a very interesting story here. Apparently, nowadays he doesn't take us on camps or anything, but 10-15 years back, he used to take his students on camps, and they would go on a Vedanta camp. Maybe they would also go to Badrinath, etc. And they would generally have a camp in Rishikesh Ashram, right? So as he was leaving, apparently one person came and told him, please have this coin, okay? And so he was wondering why this coin. He was wondering whether it's some dakshina or something. He said, no, no, no. You keep this coin with you. In Badrinath, in one place, Kubera is there, right? So you keep this and you bring it back, then you will get a lot of money, right? So basically, first of all, they're going for a spiritual camp to Rishikesh. Second of all, they're going to Badrinath. There is Badrinarayanan there, right? But Kubera becomes more important because that is what appeals to the materialistic people, right? So not only did he say, keep the coin there, he said, please bring back and give it to me because I want, you may not want it, right? So there are differences in people, and there are people who value such gods more. They are also gods, right? So similarly, you have Dharma Moksha Pradana deities also, and Artha Kama Pradana deities are called Rajasa Devataha, right? So Shiva, Vishnu, and all are Satvika Devatas, and Artha Kama Pradana deities are Rajasa Devataha. There are so many dark deities also. Bhuta, Preta, Pishasha, Yaksha, right? You have this Yamaduta, Shakini, Dakini, Sarpashyapana, black deities, right? They're all tamasic deities, right? So this is the deity. So depending on, now that we are aware, we know for a spiritually oriented person which deities are important, and our focus has to shift, at least once we know this. The second aspect is the mode of worship. A Satvika worship is a gentle one, right? Not much of luxury, pomp, show, etc., which you will see in the Rajasic form of worship, right? Huge, groups come together, and then there's a lot of show, and as Swamiji puts it, the video comes before the Vadya, right? So we are supposed to give good dakshina and take care of the priest during the homam. Instead, we are more focused on, the food, what variety, how many dishes to be served, and the video, etc., right? So that's the Rajasic kind of puja, right? So Tamasic mode is one in which one goes through several bodily, what do you say, tortures, piercing of the flesh with sharp instruments, going around the temple on the knees, right? They do pradakshinam on knees, and the knees get completely, hurt and scarred, right? And there are people who don't eat for 10 days, 15 days, torture of the body, right? Ghoram, right? And there is also another form where we can read about it in the the Shastram document books, that there is Agni on all four sides, Pancha Agni Homam, right? On all 5 sides, 4 sides they have Agni, and then they have the sun falling on the head of the person, and that person sits in the center and does tapas. All these kind of extreme pujas, right? So that's the Tamasic puja. Now we looked at the deity, then we saw the mode, then we now have the motive. If spiritual growth and well-being of the whole world is the motive, that is Satvika motive. Now Rajasic motive is always I do namaskaram and puja and pray for my family members, my children, my profession, my possessions. I need more wealth, I need this house, I need my family should get this, my daughter should get this, son should get this, right? So that's a selfish prayer. Whereas the Satvika prayer is Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, right? So Satvik and Rajasic prayers. And then harming others using black magic, etc., right? Abhicharika karmani. Abhicharika means black magic, right? They all come under tamasic motive. So the deity, the manner, and the motive will decide what the Shraddha is, and whether I'm a Satvika person naturally, right? I will be interested in Satvika type of deity, puja, and motives. Rajasic person will naturally be attracted towards those kind of pujas, right? And Tamasic will be interested in black magic, etc. So in this shloka it is said, Satvikaha Devan Yajante. So Satvika people will worship the popular deities like Rama, Krishna, Devi, etc. Yaksharakshansi Rajasaha. Rajasic people will choose those deities who will give money, etc. Kubera, etc. I was telling you. Pretan, Preta, Bhuta, Pishasha, etc. Bhuta, Ganancha, Anye, Tamasa, Janaha, Ejante. This is the form. This is the different forms of Tamasa deities, right? So the Gora Rupam, the Ugra Rupam, right? So these are the different types of the 3 types of puja, the motive and the mode, right? And in fact, Shankaracharya doesn't elaborate, but if you see Madhusudana Saraswati and others say, even those in those days, at least in the Bhashyams, you can see that these Brahmi, Maheshwari, right, Kaumari, Vaishnavi, etc., which I think, I'm not sure, is what is done in the Chandi Homams, etc. Even those were not considered really sattvic in those days, right? So today it seems to be more popular, right? So there is a difference between this. So for a person who is spiritually oriented, we have to focus on the sattvika type of puja mode and the motive itself. I will be sharing a chart I will do that. So after I complete, right? So somebody had wanted a chart. Ashastra vihitam ghoram. Ashastra vihitam ghoram. Tapyante ye tapojanaha. Tapyante ye tapojanaha. Dambhahankara sanyuktaha. Dambhahankara sanyuktaha. Kamaragabalanvitaha. Kamaragabalanvitaha. Here Krishna makes some general observations regarding Rajasic and Tamasic motives and also the mode of worship. Right? You can understand Ghoram Tapaha Tapyante. They take to extreme hardship. Right? No doubt tapas involves voluntarily inviting some discomfort, like Ekadashi Upavasa. We do face some kind of discomfort, right? Some Sharira Pidanam. But he defines tapas as Sharira Pidanam, Shankaracharya, right? Some discomfort to the body. But you should not do something which is irreversible, causing irreversible damage to the health, right? So I have to take care to do some of this, but then you have to take care that it doesn't hurt my body also, right? So discomfort is involved, but it should not be so severe, right? Gora tapaha. As I said, this Panchagni tapas is a Gora tapas, right? So we don't advise that we should do such extreme kind of tapas, etc. Right? But instead of doing, say, Panchagni tapas, if 2 or 3 nights in the middle of the summer, we are able to sleep without an AC, right? That is also a form of a tapas, right? If we can do it. It is so difficult, right? So without complaint, one day the power goes off, without complaint can be managed, right? So Ashastra Vihitam, these kind of extreme torture, Shastra does not prescribe, because Shastra is aware that our health is extremely important, and without physical fitness, we cannot pursue the sadhana at all, right? So many people who fast for 9 days nirjalam, they all get into some trouble afterwards, right? So everything has to be done properly and carefully, right? So ghoram, and this is a mode of worship when it is tamasic. We already saw that. Huh? So therefore, e janaha damba ahankara sanyukta. Dambaha means what? Pomp, show, publicity, ahankara. We are supposed to do the puja for weakening our ahankara. Because according to Vedanta, the most powerful expression of samsara is ahankara, mamakara, raga and dvesha. Because they alone narrow down my personality, right? I start thinking of myself as this body-mind complex. So Vedanta defines these 4 as powerful expression of samsara, right? So that is why even in that Aarti we sing Tan Man Dhan Sab Kuch Tera, because we want to practice saying that this all belongs to you, the Lord, right? And I don't want to claim ownership, nor do I want to control, right? Whether it is my children or it is my body or my family, other than my children, right? So, Damba Ahankara Sanyukta and Kama Raga Balanvitaha, and are possessed by the impulse of desire and attachment. They don't have any spiritual goals, right? They're full of worldly attachment. So, desire is for something which I don't have. Attachment is towards something which I already have. Both of them are bad, right? So, Vishaye Ragaha, right? In the sense objects, right? These people are full of Kama and Raga and Bala Anvitaha, right? So, they use their status, their job, their money, their family background, everything they use for getting more and more power. So even if they give some donation, you will see that they are expecting something in return for it, right? Nothing is nishkama that way, right? So power becomes very, very important. So power comes under Rajasic personality, right? Bala Anvitaha. Continuing. Karshayanta sharirastam कर्षयन्त शरीरस्थं भूतग्राममचेतसः भूतग्राममचेतसः मां चैवान्तः शरीरस्थं तान् विद्यासुरनिश्चयान् कर्षयन्तः शरीरस्य भूतग्रामम् अचेतसः. They do all types of austerities in which they harm their own physical body by over fasting and also walking miles and miles. Right? Somebody prays saying, I'll walk from Badrinath to Kedarnath to Gangotri to Yamunotri in that sub-zero temperature and on ice. Right? You're only going to destroy your health. Right? Therefore, Sharirastam Bhutagramam. Right? Bhutagramam means all the elements of the body. Right? Whether it is Vayu, Vata, Pitta, Kapam, etc. Right? So all of them get upset when we do this, right? So they torment. Bhutagramam Karshayantaha means tormenting the Bhutagramam, right? Achetasaha, because of their indiscretion. Forgetting that what? Sharira Madhyam Kalu Dharma Sadhanam. The Upanishad says, right? For doing all good things, the fundamental thing we need is health of the body. So Shastra criticizes pampering the body. That is also harmful. But torturing also it criticizes, right? So Bhagavan says that not only they torture the body, they forget that the body is the temple of God, right? This is a very unique concept in Hinduism, right? We believe that God is all pervading and still enshrined within everybody in the form of Atma, Sakshi Chaitanyam, right? So consciousness is within the Hridayam, right? So the physical body is the temple and the heart is the sanctum sanctorum. And in the heart, the mind is there. So in the mind, the Chaitanyam is there. In the form of Sakshi Chaitanyam, Bhagavan is present. Therefore, ill-treating the body means ill-treating Bhagavan. So Krishna says, not only they torment the body, they torment Bhagavan also, right? So Krishna says, me, they torment me also, right? They desolate me who is residing in their own body. So, Tan Viddhi, may you understand all these people as endowed with Rajasik Shraddha and Tamasic Shraddha, right? There, see, the topic here is Shraddha, therefore Asura Nishchaya means Rajasa Tamasa Shraddhavantaha, right? So you fast on Ekadashi day, that is wonderful because I know what hunger is, right? Shastram says the type of fast should also depend on the type of health you have. If you can do total fasting, wonderful. No food, no water even, right? One day if you can manage, fine, right? It is wonderful, but you should be able to master the tongue. And here Swamiji makes a very special remark here. Mastering the tongue is very important because tongue means two things. One is without ahara and the other is maunam, right? Can you practice maunam at least once in a way, right? So very, very important aspect of the tongue, both the speaking as well as the eating tongue, right? So that is why Krishna actually said yukta ahara viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasu, moderation in everything, including tapas, right? But if a person does not follow that, he has rajasic and tamasic shraddha. So this is with respect to shraddha in terms of the worship of the gods, worship of the yakshas and the rakshasas, worship of the spirits and the ghosts, and of course, as I said, the mode, the method itself is very ghoram in the case of tamasic, and in the rajasic with a lot of pomp and show, and sattvic is very quiet kind of worship. And the motive for the sattvika puja is spiritual goal, whereas rajasic is personal materialistic goals, right, for the family, profession, etc. And tamasic is to harm the others. Continuing. आहारस्त्वपि सर्वस्य आहारस्त्वपि सर्वस्य त्रिविधी भवति प्रिय त्रिविधो भवति प्रियः यज्ञस्तपस्तथा दानं यज्ञस्तपस्तथा दानं तेषां भेदमिमं शृणु तेषां भेदमिमं शृणु त्रिविधो भवति प्रियः. Right? So in the sixth shloka, Lord Krishna has answered Arjuna's question. So Arjuna wanted to know about the type of Shraddha of a scripturally illiterate people. Krishna has given the answer. Right? It is of three types determined by three factors: type of deity, type of worship, type of attitude. With that, Arjuna's question is answered, and he can end the chapter with Om Tat Sat. But Lord Krishna feels that he should introduce a few more topics, even though Arjuna did not ask for them. So Krishna himself voluntarily introduces 4 topics and divides them into 3 types. Don't get worried. I will have a matrix which will have the 4 topics with the 3 types. Okay. So the 3 types are Satvika, Rajasa and Tamasa. Right. So we should know that in any one of them, when we follow the Satvika ones, it is a spiritual journey. When we follow Rajasic, it is materialistic journey, and we are following Tamasic, we are slipping down. So one is spiritually progressive, another is spiritual stagnation, and the third is downfall, right? Spiritually retrogressive, Tamasic. Keeping this in mind, we can choose the way of life, and with this intention, Krishna takes up 4 topics, and each of them he divides into 3 varieties, right? So if you want to connect it to the 16th chapter, the Satvika ones will be called Daivi Sampat, the Rajasic and the Tamasic will be called Asuri Sampat. So Krishna introduces the 4 topics in this shloka. So introduction of the topic, but the discussion will happen from the next shloka. So Krishna says, Aharaha api. So the type of food also can be divided into 3 types: Satvika, Rajasa and Tamasa. So Trividaha bhavati, right? So 3 types are there. Not only that, Yajnaha means puja. Literally it means Vedic ritual, right? A Vedic ritual includes other types of puja also. Then Tapaha. Tapaha means austerity, like vows or vratam, penance, right? And then Tatha Dhanam. Dhanam means charity, right? One should not say only if I'm doing I should bother, right? According to Shastra, we are supposed to do Dhanam, and according to our capacity. And if we are doing the Dhanam, then our Dhanam should come under what category we should know. So Krishna says, I will give a clue to categorize them as Satvika, Rajasika and Tamasika, right? So threefold divisions of Ahara, Yajna, Tapaha and Dhanam. Imam Shunu, may you listen to. And you can identify them in 2 different ways. One method is look at the scriptures. We know the scriptures will point out to Satvika, Rajasika and Tamasika varieties. But if I am scripturally illiterate, how do I know, right? So how do I understand this, right? So Satvika people will have a natural inclination for them even without studying the scriptures. Whatever will be the Rajasic people's inclination, that will indicate Rajasic, right? Ahara, Tapaha, Dhanam, etc. And similarly, Tamasic people's inclination will be towards that. Trividha bhavati, Trividho bhavati priyaha. Priyaha means their natural taste. Satvika people will have a natural taste for Satvika ahara. Rajasic people will have natural taste for Rajasika ahara. Right? From that you can know what is Satvik and what is Rajasic. Therefore Krishna says, I shall explain to you and may you note them. Tesham Vedam Imam means it is going to be described in the following shlokas in the same order. Ahara being the first, Yajnaha being the second, Tapaha and Dhanam in the same order. And I shall explain to you. आयुस्सत्त्वबलारोग्य सुखप्रीतिविवर्धनाः सुखप्रीतिविवर्धनाः. Must be read as one line. रस्या स्निग्धा स्थिरा हृद्याः रस्या स्निग्धा स्थिरा हृद्याः आहारः सात्विकप्रियाः आहारः सात्विकप्रियाः. So the following three shlokas talk about the three types of food, right? And the 8th shloka talks about the satvika ahara, 9th about the rajasa ahara, and 10th about the tamasa ahara. So even though in Yoga Shastra also they have given a list, right? So these vegetables come under satvika, right? These come under rajasika. That is why we actually avoid onion and garlic, right? Very important, because they come under rajasika, right? So, but then of course, if you now be very strict about all the vegetables, then it is a little difficult. But if you are very serious about scriptural studies, then there is strict, categorization of vegetables and fruits, right? So he says, Ayuhu Sattva Bala Arogya Sukha Priti Vivardinaha. These types of food, those types of food which will promote the following factors: Ayuhu, longevity. Then Sattva means mental strength, Manobalam, and right, longevity and Manobalam, mental strength, right, and physical strength, and Arogyam, right, physical health, mental health, and spiritual health, right? So the scriptures believe that garlic and onion do not promote this spiritual journey, right? So that is why we are asked to avoid them, right? So people are now wondering, how come, medical science is glorifying them, but our Shastram says it is not right, right? So the answer is that this is for a spiritual journey that Shastram is speaking about. And onions and garlic are banned in the tradition because they are promoting Rajoguna, Tamoguna, Raga, Krodha, etc. Today, actually, we also see some, scientific research saying that if children are given chocolates, cola, etc., they become extremely active. That's Rajasic Guna, right? So our forefathers had identified these kind of vegetables were promoting the Rajasic Guna, right? So, and the various papams are enumerated for this, for eating Rajasic and Tamasic food also, right? So, Shastra talks about arogyam of the mind and spiritual pursuit, right? Therefore, arogya means spiritual health also. And similarly, meat and all comes under tamasic food, right? So, only vegetarianism, and in vegetarianism, certain kinds of fruits and vegetables are come under the satvika food. So anyway, I will stop here and we'll continue in the next class. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay. So on the chart, I will anyway keep sharing. So I will do that. Do we have a recommended list of vegetables and fruits to avoid? It is there in the Shastrams, but these days, I can tell you from what we don't cook when Swamiji comes for Bhiksha or something. We don't use onions, we don't use cauliflower, we don't use garlic. These are the three main things that we don't use, and cabbage. And typically we use vegetables that are grown traditionally in India. So which means we avoid the English vegetables, but that's not as strict as the onion, garlic, and I think cauliflower they avoid because of, whatever can be present inside. Yeah. What happens to people who do black magic for others? I was speaking about it. Anybody who indulges in anything tamasic, they will have spiritual retrogression, which means that they may not even have a Manushya Janma in the next Janma. So that's what it says. Yeah, broccoli and cauliflower and all will come under the same category because there could be insects and inside worms inside. So there are reasons. So if you want to be strictly following that, then we shouldn't be having these. Any, yeah. Mohana, please go ahead. I have unmuted you.
Namaskara, Bhagini.
Namaskara.
Thing is, you were talking about tamasic practices, and you talked about that pancha thing where you sit under the sun with 5 fires.
Hmm.
But Sharada Mata, she did that. So are you saying that she did the tamasic practice? Because she would not have done it for a tamasic practice. She did it for the welfare of others. And she also says, my children don't have to do it. And when she saw her sadhus scattered all over the world and begging, she goes to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and says, my children are starving. We should get them together, right? So I'm just wondering the context.
Correct. No, very important, you must understand. We are not speaking about jnanis here at all, right? That is the first thing we must remember. What is the context of this? We are speaking about religious people who are not aware of these scriptural teachings. So what does that mean? A jnani considers himself or herself an akarta and an abhokta. So we are not even speaking about those kind of people here. Whether it was right, wrong, we're not even getting into that because jnanis are of a different category. Shastra clearly says that for a person on a spiritual journey, you do not have to be indulging in any of these practices. So it is only speaking, all these tamasic, rajasic examples are for you to, are actually to dissuade you from going towards that path and just focusing on the spiritual journey, right? So that is what we must take away from this. That way, if you see, even Chandi Homa, many people do, but the kind of goddesses that are being prayed to there may give you more materialistic benefits. So there's nothing wrong in people practicing Rajasic, puja. It is just that you will not be on the spiritual journey. That is what we must remember. Anybody else? I don't see any other answer. Let me just see if there are any questions. No. Okay. So I hope I answered all the questions, and a very, very interesting chapter. So I will keep summarizing in the form of a table. So next week, same time we will meet. Hari Om.